The man confidently throws away the entire pack of cigarettes. After taking one final drag from the cigarette in his hand, he makes the decision to walk into a rehabilitation center. But what he never expected was that as soon as he arrived, they wanted him to cut off his proud blonde hair. This rehabilitation center was different from all the others. New arrivals had to do the hardest and dirtiest jobs every day during meals. They had to sit quietly on the floor. Even during their most difficult moments, they could only face it alone. If they could survive the toughest stage, they would have a chance to start over. But during this period, any small conflict could turn into a serious argument. Their heads were shaved again. Yet even after being pushed to exhaustion, the man refused to give up because his girlfriend was pregnant. For the first time in his life, he truly wanted to become a good father. He knew that once someone became trapped in addiction, their entire future could be lost in darkness. But what nobody expected was this. The man everyone looked down on, the one everyone believed was beyond saving, would later become a world champion in the double Ironman triathlon. And the most unbelievable thing was, this was a true story. If the past few years haven't gone the way you hoped, please stay and watch this inspiring story until the end. It might change the way you look at life. The man's name was Gorski. At that time, he had been struggling with addiction for 2 years. Every day, he was either getting into trouble or wandering through life without a purpose. Eventually, he dragged his girlfriend into the same chaotic lifestyle. But one day, something unexpected happened. A man suddenly rushed in and knocked him to the ground. It turned out to be his girlfriend's father. He was also the local police chief. But even after receiving a serious warning from his father-in-law, Gorski didn't take it seriously. Instead, he went with his friends to cause trouble outside the police station. This made the police chief extremely angry. Every day, Gorski stayed in that dark underground place, living as if he had completely lost himself, even though the police chief kept trying to stop him. His girlfriend still tried everything she could to help him. Sometimes, the more people tried to stop him, the longer this meaningless life continued. And just like that, 2 years passed. One day, his girlfriend suddenly ran outside feeling sick. Gorski immediately followed her out. He held her gently and comforted her. After hesitating for a moment, he picked up the trophy he had won when he was younger. But this time, it could no longer be an excuse for him. He threw it away at that moment. It felt like the last bit of hope in Gorski's life had disappeared. One day, his mother came to visit him. He wanted to escape this place as soon as possible, but she wanted him to truly change. He forced himself to face the pain inside. After failing to find his girlfriend, he finally decided to leave behind the things that had destroyed his life. His friend told him, "You have a family, you have someone who loves you. Unlike me, I have nobody. If something happened to me one day, nobody would even know." Maybe this was the reality many people faced. They knew they needed to change, but they kept waiting instead of taking action. Gorski thought his friend just needed some time to rest. But then, Gorski suddenly felt something was wrong. Filled with fear, he rushed out of the hospital. He gently placed his hand on his girlfriend's belly, but his father-in-law couldn't hold back his anger. He pushed Gorski away. When Gorski looked back at his girlfriend, he realized the truth. He had lost everything. He had lost everyone's trust. After all the painful events, he finally understood that he had to change. But after years of addiction, breaking free was never going to be easy. Luckily, his mother discovered what was happening and sent him to the hospital. When Gorski woke up, the familiar Dr. Ava was standing in front of him, but this time, everything was different. With Dr. Ava's help, Gorski finally made the biggest decision of his life. After finishing his last cigarette, he walked into a rehabilitation center. Inside the rehabilitation center, Gorski faced his biggest battle every single day. Whenever he wanted to give up, he would take out a photo of his girlfriend. That photo reminded him why he had to keep going. As the newest member there, he didn't even dare to look at himself in the mirror. But before he could finish his daily tasks, the coach pulled him outside for training. He had barely run half a lap, and he was already struggling to breathe. His body couldn't keep up, and he collapsed on the ground. The coach looked at him with respect because he saw something different in Gorski, a person who truly wanted to change. It turned out, a new life could only be earned through his own effort, while everyone else was sleeping at night. Gorski kept training day after day, month after month. 1 year later, Gorski had completely transformed. He was no longer the person who walked into the center. He had become stronger, both physically and mentally. One day, he discovered that one of his old companions had fallen back into a difficult situation. That person eventually gave up on himself. Gorski was deeply affected, but the manager told him, "Ara, you cannot let someone else's choice destroy your own future. You have to keep moving forward." At that moment, Gorski looked at his coach. He realized he was no longer the same lost man from before. Now, he wasn't only able to swim, his running ability had also improved greatly. 1 year later, Gorski decided to challenge himself. He signed up for a cycling competition, a swimming challenge, a cycling challenge, and a running challenge. He wanted to see how far he had truly come. However, when he finally reached the finish line, he discovered that everyone had already left, but the fear inside his heart was still there. The voice from his past kept trying to pull him back. It told him, "You can still go home. You can visit your mother. Nobody will know." When he arrived at the hospital, he saw the person he loved suffering because of the choices he had made. His heart was filled with guilt. He regretted the mistakes of his younger years. At that moment, Gorski felt a strange connection, but he knew the truth. He was not ready to face his daughter yet. After returning to the rehabilitation center, the manager asked him, "Is there something you need to admit?" All the emotions he had been holding inside finally exploded. The next morning, he went to his girlfriend's house, but the only thing waiting for him was heartbreaking news. He knocked on the door, but nobody answered. Inside, there were only old furniture and memories from the past. This place became the lowest point of his life. Gorski was the only person there who managed to survive that difficult stage, so he brought flowers to Dr. Ava to show his gratitude. At that moment, the old manager passing by called him over. He invited Gorski into his car and started a conversation that would change his life forever. The next morning, everyone quietly ate breakfast. Then, Gorski walked into the room with his freshly shaved head. He had already made his choice. Everyone gathered in the hall, waiting for the announcement. The old manager took out a piece of paper. Gorski looked confused as he received it. It was a new opportunity, a chance to rebuild his future. The manager told him, "Only by continuing forward can you earn the life you want." Tears filled Gorski's eyes because he knew life had to move forward. At that moment, he saw his daughter and his father-in-law walking toward him. Gorski quickly moved aside. He wasn't ready yet. During a swimming practice, the coach noticed something. Gorski's endurance had improved dramatically. His physical condition was completely different. A local cycling competition was held, and Gorski unexpectedly won first place. Someone asked him, "Why don't you try the Ironman triathlon. I heard it is one of the toughest challenges in the world. This shocked Dr. Ava. She couldn't believe how far Gorski had come, and after spending so much time together, the two slowly developed feelings for each other. When the police chief saw what was happening, he immediately gave a warning. But Gorski's real purpose this time was to ask the chief for help with the race arrangements. In the end, he received support from his father-in-law, and Gorski did not disappoint anyone. With a time of 9 hours and 13 minutes, he broke the European record. He also received an invitation to compete in the Ironman event. Even his travel expenses were covered. But during one night training session, something unexpected happened. A car suddenly came toward him. It hit him hard, sending him flying to the ground. He was quickly taken to the hospital, although Ava noticed the problem in time and helped him receive treatment. The fear from the accident returned that night. This time, could he overcome it again with his own will? In a moment of confusion, he felt as if his daughter was standing right beside him. Slowly, Gorski calmed himself down. But after the storm, the sunshine did not come immediately. Unexpectedly, the police chief who had disliked him for so many years came to encourage him. He told Gorski, "When you fall, hold onto the railing and climb back up step by step." The thought of his daughter continued to give him strength. Using crutches, he kept moving forward until his legs slowly recovered from that day on. The hallway became the place where his determination burned brighter every day. Time passed, 1 second at a time, and Gorski became stronger. Little by little, from barely being able to walk to moving confidently again. After 270 days, Gorski once again broke through his limits. Now, there was less than 1 month left before the race, but just when everything seemed ready, the organizers suddenly changed the rules. Everyone wanted Gorski to give up. Even the police chief told him not to continue. But after hearing those words, Gorski made his decision. He would finish what he started. However, another problem appeared. The club believed Gorski would quit, so they took back the support they had promised. In the end, with the help of his friend, Gorski collected enough money to travel to America. Soon, the day finally arrived. The world-class double Ironman championship officially began. With the sound of the starting gun, the athletes rushed into the ocean. Gorski moved forward just like he had trained, strong, focused, determined. But shortly after entering the water, he faced an unexpected problem. His body lost control, and he almost went under. Fortunately, the staff noticed in time and pulled him back to safety. When he finally reached the shore, he was already 10 minutes behind the leader. The coach tried to give him advice, but Gorski had no time to think. The next 360-kilometer cycling course became his greatest performance. One strong competitor after another was passed by him. When the cycling stage ended, Gorski had taken a huge lead, but his body was also reaching its limit. His legs started shaking. They were slowly losing strength. He could only rely on his incredible willpower to move forward step by step, but the unbearable pain in his feet finally forced him to collapse. The coach rushed over immediately. When he saw Gorski's injured feet, he was shocked. He quickly poured water over them to help him recover. But even then, Gorski refused to stop. He clenched his teeth and continued forward. The coach decided to help him adjust his shoes. He cut open the front part to give his toes more space. Then the coach tried to help him stand, but Gorski pushed him away. He wanted to continue by himself, so he stood up and kept running forward alone. But at that moment, the darkness inside his mind returned in a daze. He found himself back on that familiar street. His old friend appeared again. The voice from the past questioned him. Why did he stop changing? Why did he forget the people he loved? The temptations around him tried to pull him back, but Gorski kept fighting. The biggest enemy was not the race, it was the old version of himself. The person he used to be. Please save me. The darkness came at him like a violent storm. He was knocked down, almost unable to continue. But right before he gave up, Gorski saw the finish line. Standing there were Ava and his daughter. He didn't want to return to the person he used to be. He didn't want to be someone everyone had abandoned. He wanted to become a real man again, a father who could protect his daughter. At that moment, Gorski found a strength he had never felt before. He faced his fear. He fought back against his past, and his new life began from that moment. With only a few final steps left, Gorski continued forward with his exhausted body because he had only one goal: to create a better future. For his daughter, for the woman he loved, and for everyone who believed in him. The coach ran toward him and hugged him with tears in his eyes. Because Gorski had won more than a race, he had defeated himself. He had overcome the nightmare that had controlled his life for years. He had once been lost. He had once fallen into darkness, but every single time, he chose to stand back up and continue moving forward. Remember this: when a person has a strong enough belief, they can find the strength to completely change their life.